Hola community, welcome to Blender Today, live from Blender HQ here in Amsterdam. Today, it's not a clickbait. There are actually many updates in. It's one of those episodes where I didn't know what to call it because there was something I wanted to call it like Node Editor Quality of Life Improvements because there are many tweaks all over the place in the Node Editor. But also another one caught my attention, so we're gonna be having a bit of everything, which is good because in the last episode, remember, it was during the holidays, so we didn't get many updates. But today, I think it's gonna be a fun one. I'm actually pretty excited by some of them, some of the updates, and I'm also still a bit sick, so stay with me, please. And also, in I think this is the last live stream, or actually there is one before the moving into beta of 5.1 and alpha of 5.2. It's crazy. So let's see what is new over here. So in terms of announcements, there's two things that I wanted to mention. One, that the Beacon event North America, this is the one organized by CG Cookie, is the second how do you call it time they do this. They are already getting tickets are already for sale for Beacon Austin in Texas. So if you want to hang out with other Blender users, go see them. It's actually the Blender conference Amsterdam is always happening, of course. Actually, the dates are already there for the Blender conference Amsterdam. It's the 23. Like, look at how crappy website we have. Well, it's too early too, but compared to the cool one they have at the Beacon Austin. But this one, you're gonna work on it. 23, 25 of September. The one in Amsterdam and the one in Beacon Austin. I think there will be people from the team. I think at least Francesco's gonna be hanging out there. So yeah, make sure you go meet all the Blender heads. What else? Blender Studio had just published this blog post, but I think it's a work in progress. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share this because there is, I mean, there is a new training basically. We checked on the search and in Google Search Console, and you can get some analytics and seeing like, okay, people are actually searching for specific Blender terms. One of them is 3D printing with Blender. And the 3D printing training that used to be that is still there on the Blender Studio website is so outdated. As in, it's amazing. It was made by Dolph, I think in 2009, 10, 11, maybe after Sintel. And it's a bit outdated. It's Blender 2.6. It's before so many other improvements were done to Blender modeling in general. So there is a new update by Hjalti. He's really into 3D printing for years now, and he does his own 3D printing for like some parts of the like I think for some parts of his board games, and also in general. If you see 3D printed stuff around, it's either Andy or Hjalti. And so he went ahead and made a training where he goes into how to make a simple coin, a 3D printed two-sided coin, and then finally this frog file. So go check it out. It says free, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be free. Maybe it's not supposed to be free. So yes, it still shows up. But I'm not sure if there was. I think it's there. It should be announced. But if not, hurry up because you can watch it now. Let's see what else is new in. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Let's see what's new in Blender today. Let's start with if you're first time here, we go through everything that's new in terms of every commit log. Basically, there has been this week 300, almost 400 changes in Blender in the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna go through some of them, of course, not all of them, otherwise we wouldn't end. But there's about 50 changes I want to highlight, and I go through them alphabetically. So this is the list. Let's start with animation. There is two changes. One, performance. Yes, Blender shape keys evaluation is now faster. How much faster? Well, depends on your scene. in a simple blend file with a high poly mesh with shape keys is almost twice as fast. So from 19 to 8 milliseconds, more or less, give or take. And for animation where there's animation and shape keys being used, in this case is much less. It's 9.8 to 9.3 milliseconds, but still a welcome improvement. It's part of a larger task that aims to improve performance in animation in general in Blender. Part of the animation 2020 X 2025. Then let's see what else. In terms of quality of life, now Blender gives you a bit of better feedback now when you are pasting a pose. So if nothing has been pasted, a warning is shown telling you that nothing is, if you have something selected, it tells you that nothing has been selected, so nothing to copy. None of the copied bones could be pasted if something went wrong. If some of them, tells you something else, and if all, tells you something else. So yes, good to see that there is feedback. So apparently this was based on some back and forth with Hjalti, like trying to understand why some poses didn't get pasted, but now yeah, sometimes it's in the code, maybe something was working, but if you don't get feedback, it's good to see that there is now feedback. These are the reports that you get at the bottom in the status bar, if any. Next, in the A for asset shelf, a small change that it's inspired by a change on right-click select. So the proposal on right-click select was like, hey, make the tool icon is just allow it to be smaller in the asset shelf. So in the asset browser, you could get down up to 24 pixels width for an image. Well, they are square, so width and height for a thumbnail. But for some reason, the asset shelf was limited to 32. Apparently, the downsampling to that size, it doesn't look always good. Like it can just look maybe too blurry, just like. But you know, if people like blurry, but like small images, they don't care about a bit of blurriness. It's better to allow it to go down there, even if it doesn't look good. But at that small size, you gain up to 9 more thumbnails in the default 1080p layout. So I think it's good. I think it's 48 is the default. The minimum used to be 32, and now the minimum is 24, the actual minimum, which is super nice. So actually, this was the old one. So actually, now you can go up, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So many more. So it's good. More space. Yay. Okay, next. That is for the asset shelf, a small one, but it's inspired by right-click select. And let's see what else. 8 nice assets, attributes. So I usually highlight before starting the live stream. I go through the list and I add a little emoji that I like to highlight what I'm going to talk about. Some of them I don't mention, but I mean, this one is multi-threaded when copying attributes for right access. There's no numbers that I can give you, just tell you that it's faster, right? Multi-threading usually means that it's going to be more performant on systems with many CPUs. But yeah, this one is also related to optimizations and performance. This one is optimize encoding for random data spans. What does it affect? Undo. So in this case, edit mesh undo in this test went up to 2 times speed up, 2 times faster, depending on data patterns with great performance gains on random data. Nice. So you should notice faster edit mesh undo. Next. More changes, internal changes, build changes. Remember that 5.1 comes with a bunch of library updates based on the VFX platform. I always mention this, the VFX platform. I mean, their VFX website, they could make a dark version, dark mode version. Although Blender.org is also not dark, so can't blame them. But anyway, these are the libraries updates for 5.1 following the VFX platform. Let's see. What else? CMake changes, code owners, cleanups, so many cleanups. We're not going to go through any of them, although some of them actually have some changes. Like there was a cleanup on Node Wrangler, which it's a cleanup, right? But I think it also changes one label because of it adds like an, actually, no, it is a duplicate. But I thought it changed the label. Just cleaning up. Because it's the winter of quality for this side of the hemisphere, but in general is a code quality project which happens around holidays, December, January. All right, time to talk about some good stuff. If you are into the Compositor, please listen up, because look at this amazing node. It converts a mask into a sign distance field. So this, basically, you can take any shape, any image, any mask, and then convert it into this. So this is amazing. This is just this alone. It's amazing. And it's a super simple node too. It's like it takes a mask, and then it comes out an SDF, and then gives you the coordinates vectors for nearest pixel. So yes, somebody's jaw just dropped at that mask to SDF node. Isn't it amazing? It's awesome. It's awesome. So cool. Yes, many people are excited, and I am too. It's so cool. Like many this opens the doors for many changes, internal changes. That's amazing. So this takes the alpha and converts it to a boolean. It's a boolean input. Interesting. Yep. Thanks, Omar. This will be part of Blender 5.1. Next, what else is going to be changing in 5.1? Well, the default workspace, Blender will look different. So let's open Blender here. I have my own 3D software right here. Go to the compositing tab, and this is how Blender looks like now. So usually it doesn't come with someone in the corner. So this is how it's going to look. Do notice anything different? Yes, there is you may notice that down here there used to be a dope sheet, a very large dope sheet. Actually, if we open Blender 5, which I happen to have over here, I think it's release candidate even. It's not even the actual release, but it gives an idea. So this is pretty large also. You're not gonna see it this big, but the Compositor had a compositor with the backdrop, and here the dope sheet editor in case you are doing animation. Now this is how it looks, because apparently based on user feedback, community feedback, all you need, or basically what you mainly want to have, is not a backdrop which gets drawn behind your nodes and your nodes are always covering it. It's like there is enough space in the default setup for an image editor, so which by default has the viewer node. So the moment you open Blender and you render, right, you will see the changes in the viewer node. And this is similar to other software as well. So, well, in my case, I have my settings set to render in the image editor, because I love this more than the open window. But for most people, it's gonna look like this. So yeah, it is based on user feedback, community feedback, so I hope you all like it. What else? Of course, you can adapt your own, but this is how it looks. Let's see what else is new here. Let's go back. Support display win. Yes, the rest of the changes have to do with interoperability. Blender working well with other software or images, well, from Blender and from other software. So there is this property, property from EXR images called display window, which is basically the visible area of your image. And now that is supported by the image node. So I think this should be out of the box. Yeah, it's nothing to see here, but it just works now. The image node supports the EXR display window, and that has been added to other places too. For example, the movie distortion node has been, it supports now the visible area display window, which solves a bug report from a few months ago by Thomas Marcos, which I recognize this avatar. I think he's been posting some cool updates on social media about Blender updates in general. So thanks, Thomas Marcos. Next, there are a few updates in the file output node. Now, this is awesome. This one is also awesome, and it fixes a bug from 4 years ago. The file output node now is going to propagate the metadata from to the images. So whatever metadata you have on your scene, it's going to propagate it's going to get propagated to the images of the file output. So it's a feature, but also a bug fix, because it should have been working on since the beginning, I would say. It was supported for Cryptomat only, but now it's supported for all metadata. Super nice addition. Thank you, Omar, for working on this. And on the other change, which related also to the file output node, which is support for directories. This is how it used to be in the past, then it got removed, now it's back. So yay. This patch allows defining a hierarchy of directories in the names of the file output items. It was possible in older versions of Blender, and now it is restoring it. So super nice. You know, the Compositor went since 2.7, since 2.8 more, through so many iterations, GPU, CPU, full frame and whatnot. So it's nice to see it come back with some features that were missing, but also with so much support. Actually, today I was chatting with a friend that is working on a production in Blender, and they're using 4.5 LTS, and they're about to start production, and their question was like, hey, shall we switch to 5.0 or shall we stay in 4.5? And since they are at the beginning of the production, I suggested to, well, check 5.0 and update, because they still have a long production ahead, and if they can handle all the updates, the Voronoi changes maybe have some impacts, but the color space improvements, the larger file size, I don't know, just 5.0 is much more future proof. 5.1 is not going to have that many features compared to, like, it's not groundbreaking like 5.0. It's not going to break anything, shouldn't break anything. And 5.2 is an LTS, which comes out in July. So I think for a production that is just starting now, it's a good moment to consider updating from 4.5 to 5, because it's much more future proof. And then they can stick with 5.2 for years if they want to. But I think it's not a bad thing. So how was my advice? Was a bit, it's good, not good? Let's see. All right. Let's see. How is the chat going? By the way, I see some talk here. Folk film tutorial. Okay, no, it's not our folk, it's someone's folk. What happens? I noticed it's just Q&A, so just great. Oh, thanks for the Q&A. Sorry, I didn't. I'm a user before Pablo's stream is showing the work of developers. So technically it's also, absolutely, this is for users mainly, I think, but also for developers. Like, I hear other developers, this is a good way to see what's happening in other modules where they cannot follow everything that's happening because they're busy making work in their module. So, and sometimes they hang out in the chat to correct me on my errors. All right, let's see what else is new. I think I'm done with the Compositor. Well, I mean, it's always good to mention library overrides is one of the projects that will be worked on this year as well. I don't know how many people use library override, but it is the main way of working for the Blender Studio, where you link a library and you only override those items that you need. Let's see. This is an improvement on broken library overrides hierarchy in the production of the current open movie project Singularity, which I think it should come out maybe around the time of, I don't want to promise anything, but it might be you might be seeing an image of it more often. I don't want to spoil it, but maybe starting around the beta time of Blender 5.1. Wink, wink. I think I made it too obvious. The next section is C for cycles. On cycles, there is actually only one thing to mention, although you can see the names of the developers working on this. It's all people from other, like this one is from Intel. So this one is a change from Intel, which doesn't change any performance, doesn't have any impact on performance for the current devices. However, it already makes improvements in performance for upcoming Intel hardware. So Blender 5.1 already renders faster, improved performance on hardware that hasn't been released yet from Intel. Yay! And there is an minimum requirement update increase for the drivers for Intel. This is for when 5.1 comes out. Who knows when their hardware will come out, but it's good to be prepared. And also people from NVIDIA have been working on improving things, compiling Blender on newer versions of CUDA. And the one thing that I wanted to highlight is an actual improvement for everyone, but it's done by developers from NVIDIA. This one is a thing that you may have noticed when working with cycles in the viewport and you have overlays on, that the overlays are always behind. So you move, the render is there, but the overlays are still hanging, like in this case, right? You look the car up from the front, but the overlay is still lagging behind. That has to do with performance, right? Sometimes you want to give priority to the render more than the overlays, and they're rendered at in different parts. This has been addressed partially because it has an impact in what you see, basically. So you can just hide the overlays if you don't want to, but only based on the discussion here in the here in this thread, at the beginning the change would affect all the overlays. So while you navigate, while you transform, all the time. And I think now it only affects when you orbit the camera. So when you orbit, you move around with the camera, you will see the overlays properly following the shape of your scene, but not when you're transforming, because the transform, you want it to be more, you don't want just the app to get on the way, you just want it to be instant. So that's the main difference. So it will be better, just not at all times, because it has a little impact in performance. What is the impact? I think it's 100 milliseconds, not much. Okay, next, documentation. I think this is internal change, right? Closer alignment of CPU and GPU integration for Open Image Denoiser. Yeah, indeed. So more under the hood changes so it's quality of life for developers, let's say, from Intel. So let me have a drink. A bunch of fixes as usual. We're not gonna go through all of them. And after there is functions, GPU also much of work in GPU. If you're wondering what the Eevee and viewport and rendering people are doing, they're working on this and Vulkan. But now let's talk about geometry nodes, and this is gonna change the way, I think this one gonna affect a lot of people doing motion graphics, and it's gonna expand on what you can do with motion graphics and the tools you can do for motion graphics that it wasn't possible in Blender before. So behold, one new socket type, but it's being added in a new node, in an existing node that expands to new functionalities. Welcome to, we don't get a new socket often, the font socket. Yay! I should add the cloud. We need to celebrate this because it's a new socket in town. You don't get that often. Look at that. The font, the same way you have an image socket, now you also have a font socket, which means you can change from outside of a node, from a node group, from an asset. You can change the font. So you don't need to dive into, like, if you're making assets for someone or you're selling your assets for this kind of workflow for motion graphics with special fonts, you don't need to go out now anymore. You can do it from within the modifier. Not only that, but Jack also went ahead and made every option in the string to curves node a socket. So not only the string, but also the size, the font, the alignment, left, top, baseline. They can change everything now via sockets. Geometry nodes is all over the place. Awesome. So nice. This is a great addition. They free the fonts, said Harry Blend. Exactly. And I heard, oh, yes. So, okay, so this is a change. So yeah, you can actually change the font from, let's see if I can make it a bit bigger so you can see it without squinting. And when I say you, I mean I can see it without squinting. Change the size and the font. The future is here. So cool. By the way, speaking of Harry Blends, have you seen the and let's see, well, Harry Blends, the Nodes Award 2025. There is such a thing as the Node Awards, the top 10 nodes, and I think the same about some, but some of them was like I think I would swap the order, but that depends on the use. So yes, you should go have a look later after this. It's the Node Awards. We should have this for everything. For what other can we do? The Feature Award or the Preferences Award or the what else can you have? Shading Awards. I like it. Nice. And the Compositor too. Node Awards, yes. Well, I'm not Node Award. Actually, it's the top 10 nodes, but I don't know why in my head is called the Node Awards. So cool. Let's see what else is new. So this is a new socket, but there's also 2 new nodes by Cartesian Caramel, the sweetest developer slash artist in the Blender community. Look at that. There is so you can have bundles, right, since Blender 5.0, but now you can also get them and store them. These are 2 new nodes and they look like this basically. It says mockup here, but I think the actual node is pretty close, I think, right? So if I go to geometry nodes and I search for store bundle item, there you go. And I already swapped them, Shift S. Yeah. And then this will be get bundle item. Yes, nice. Oh, how does it open in 2 columns? That's nice. Ah, because it doesn't fit. Wow, that's cool. The line separator should span for 2 lines too, I think. That's so nice. Yeah. Developers, artists, everything in between. Thank you, Cartesian Caramel. What else? Oh, Ilya has made the enums for domains a lot prettier. So now there's icons. Yeah, you may recognize these icons. They're all over the place in geometry nodes, in the spreadsheet editor, and now in all the enums, so the menus, the drop downs that are related to domains. This is so convenient. Like every time you go to a different country where you don't speak the language and you go to a machine, a public machine like a metro, or even when you cannot read, especially these icons, please, people have icons everywhere. And I speak because recently I had that I bought ticket at a metro machine in some country where I didn't speak language and they couldn't read anything, and they had the default accept like color selected item button was on the other side. So I didn't know what I was buying and I bought a ticket to nowhere basically. So please add icons. I think it was some kind of accept and I thought it was cancelled or something like that. Next, performance, geometry nodes. The offset point in curve node is now much faster. How much faster? Only you, only the world can tell. It's a small change, but yeah, makes things faster. I guess if you have many of them, that's when you're gonna notice the difference. Yes, let's see. And apparently the changes are very small. Like it's already possible. It's just instead of looping once, you loop through multiple at the same time, multiple nodes at the same time. So it's hard to measure. Let's see what else. We have, line. I didn't highlight this change, but it's actually looks pretty interesting. Line art, weight transfer optimizations. Oh, I didn't notice this before. Let's see. This fix, it's a fix. Two things. Do not create the new deform group when weight transfer match output is enabled, okay? And do not go into weight transfer code path at all when the output grease pencil doesn't contain any vertex group. Okay, so it's a fix that speeds up line art performance for animated characters with a lot of vertex groups for rigging. So it's a performance improvement with some changes under the hood. Nice. Thanks, Yiming. Let's see. Metal changes. Modeling. Yes, there is actually one in modeling. It's a corrected flip normals option to the apply object transform operator. So it provides a Boolean option in the apply object transform redo panel to flip the normals of the objects with a negative scale when scale is applied. That's nice. So a convenient operator. Quality of life. Yay. So when you apply the transforms, you can flip it. It was mentioned in right click select. Preserve normals on applying negative scale option. Oh, nice. Wow. And they went ahead and marked it as done. I didn't do this. Who did? Nice. Some moderator. That's so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Henrik, for reporting, and thank you, Tariq, for working on it, and Campbell for reviewing it. By the way, there is some work, and there is some work planned to integrate the most popular extension in the extensions platform, which you may know. It's in the extension.blender.org. There is this guy which says 2 million. I think it's popular, but it's rounding up. Okay, so 1.5, it doesn't show what 2 characters, so it's 1.5 million downloads in the loop tools. So the idea for this year, throughout the year, is to have million people like this extension. There must be something, right? And every time I use this tool, the loop tools, I notice that some of these so let's call it, loop tools is enabled. So I notice that sometimes some of the options like bridge, there is already a bridge in Blender, right? You do select two faces and then you control E and then you can do bridge edge loop. So okay, what is the difference with the loop tools? To study, check. Okay, that's it. This is the difference. Maybe there's no difference. Maybe they can be merged. Okay, cool. Next. And then go through one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only 8 items. Relax. Blender has smoothing, right? What's the difference? Okay, how can we improve it? All right, or not, or that will be the process basically. So I'm asking you, leave a comment in this video when we publish it to which tools from loop tools do you use the most, and which ones do you don't even use actually, because Blender has 2 sphere and this has circle. Okay, so do we just need to add like a 2 circle here, like just move that loop tools here? Would you keep just the easiest way would you just enable the add-on by default, right? Ship it with Blender and just leave it there. But does it make sense to add every single operator, or some of these operators can be unified with the Blender version? That's it. just asking for feedback, and there's no place to give feedback for the time being. We want to make right click select maybe a place for this kind of feedback, a future right click select. So for now, maybe just leave a comment, please. All right, next, node editor. Well, this is a small one, but let's talk about nodes. This one I also noticed in right click select. Somebody mentioned that when in the node editor, when you would press home or dot period to focus on certain nodes, or home to just see all the nodes at once, Blender would sometimes leave too much space. So it would be like you press home and you already have all this empty space around it, like padding. And then you will have all this, so that the nodes will be very tiny. And sometimes, depending on the aspect ratio of the window, it would leave way too much space. Like this is just pressing home. So I was curious. Okay, what's going on? No, it's just the code was a bit too forgiving. It was taking the aspect ratio and dividing by 2. So I just changed the value to 4. See how it works. Seems to work well, and I made a PR. So now instead of zooming in like this, it's gonna zoom in like this. So making a bit better use of space. So instead of zooming like this, it goes like this, just a little bit closer. A very small change. It's not gonna change your life much. But this one in particular, so these are the selected nodes, and there's still too much space around it. Maybe you want for context, but now it's gonna be a bit closer, because probably what you want is see these nodes more than the context around the nodes. That's it, small change. But sometimes I don't consider myself a developer, but sometimes you just look at the code and it's like, actually, maybe just try numbers and compile, and you land these PRs that are like easy to see, easy to edit as well, like easy to review. Like this case, Jack Luke just didn't even mention anything, just approved because he sees the picture be comfort. You look at the code, you see like, okay, pretty straightforward, not breaking anything, so might as well try it. Anyways, let's talk about a few more changes. This one, this one's super nice. Nodes. The developer W Cloud, which is also a good member of the community to try light themes, because it always tries light themes, has this amazing patch that makes it possible to select multiple items in the tree views in the node group sockets and move them around. So transform multiple. So if you need to move 10 sockets to one sub panel, now you can. You don't need to do one by one. So nice. Even panels. You can select all the panels and move one to. Oh, so nice. So nice. Sorry for your eyes. Yes, it's a bit light, but so cool that Blender allows you to do this, right? Although I don't know how they can have why the shadow is blue. I think that's a widget emboss. So cool. So thank you, W Cloud. Actually, this is a developer from the community, like out of the wheel of their heart, and or working on their spare time. Oh, yesterday I saw a comment on YouTube, somebody saying that Blender will never be taken seriously because all the developers work on their spare time, on their free time. And I was so tempted to say Blender has like 50 employees, and I didn't. So I hope. I don't know where they get that, right? I guess they take it because it's free. They just think that it's a hippie project from people who don't make a living out of Blender, but it is thanks to the. Actually, this wasn't a segue on purpose, but thanks to the Blender Development Fund. Let's see. What else? Preserve zone. Oh, nice. Quackaroni, another developer from the community, made it so when you swap some sockets, now it works. So you should be able to swap and the sockets will all be preserved between. So for example, you swap a loop socket zone, a repeat zone with simulation zones, they should all be preserved. So nice. Thank you, Quacaruni. And last but not least, oh my god, how many times have you wanted to copy paste nodes from one Blender to another? Well, that is now possible thanks to Habib, a Blender developer from Blender Studio, from here, Blender HQ, that made it possible. So you have two Blender. Well, I mean, there's not much to explain because it just works. TM, copy and paste. So if this works like any other copy paste, I think it makes in your temp, like if you're wondering how this works, I think it makes a blend file with just those items in somewhere in your temp folder. Now it can be moved around. I'm curious how Harry Blends is gonna show this, because usually he has only one Blender open. Now we're gonna see the nodes coming out and jumping to another window. So I'm curious. That's so nice. How does it work if you copy paste to a, like if I copy from, well, no, never mind. I'm so stupid. I was, yeah, I was thinking, how does it work with nodes that are not supported from one version to the other? Well, you cannot copy them because it's only in one version, which is not even released yet. So, but in the future, if 5.2 has nodes that 5.1 doesn't, I guess it's just gonna show in red, as in undefined nodes. Makes sense. Let's continue. What else is new? Oh, for object. Nice. So this is a better feedback on some when trying to edit. So when trying to transform objects and there is no available object to edit, Blender will just silently fail. Now it's gonna tell you, hey, there is no selected editable objects to operate on, because you can have selected objects but are not editable, like linked, for example. Nice little quality of life improvement. Oh, the nodes also, this is also a quality of life improvement. You can perceive your life quality in being improved. Next, we have, oh nice, another quality of life improvement by Casey Bianco, Development Fund grant. This adds support for color accumulation to the sample color operator. What is color accumulation? It's when you hold, instead of color sampling by clicking, which color samples the whatever color is here. So for example, here I have the blue Godot plushie, right? So if I pick here, I will get light blue. But if I get here, I will get kind of this brick color. Well, in Blender, I don't know if you knew, but you can actually click drag. And if you didn't know, it's not your fault. It's just Blender doesn't communicate this anywhere. But you can click drag to get a sample of both, like somewhere in between these two colors. Now that has been added to the sample color operator in paint mode, because before it was only possible in some other tool. Which one was it? This is Grease Pencil. I think it was in some other tool. So now it's there. Cool. Nice. Godot propaganda. Yeah, Godot propaganda. Godot has we have Blender today and they have Godot tomorrow. So you should check it out. Actually, they probably have an event already, maybe. Godot Engine. Godot tomorrow, they had it a few days ago, 6 days ago. So they're probably gonna do one soon at some point. So yeah, Godot also has an updates video. Next. Let's see, implement vertex loop. Oh, nice. Also, quality of life. Vertex loop selection is now possible in paint mode. This also a contribution by the community. I think is Jokun Hash. this developer, I think it's their Ansh Malgotra, it's their first PR in Blender, made it into Blender. So congrats, Ansh. Thanks for contributing to open source and to Blender. This adds the new operator vertex loop, vert select loop to paint mode. Super nice. Next. Also, congrats on going through the PR, because I think at the beginning was fairly more simple, and then at some point it got more, and then you get feedback, and then you have to work on that feedback. So it can be a bit intimidating, or you just want to make a small change, and then the developers is like, yeah, but maybe you should add these other things, and you end up doing more work than you expected, but your quality is gonna be top notch. All right, next, let's see, P4, we're still in the letter P, yeah, P4, Python. Oh, Python API additions, 2 additions. One, a small one, bpy.app.tempdir is an existing property that you can already check where is your tempdir. Well, now there is a new one called cachedir, and this is needed for the remote asset library system. Online assets, also known as online assets. So it's a remote repository. So instead of having your asset libraries locally, you can also get it from the web. This is not in Blender yet, but it will come in as experimental soon. It's not going to be part of Blender 5.1, unfortunately, but for sure in 5.2. And another addition to the API is a new handler called pre-exit, I think. Yeah, so when you quit Blender, you can have now a new hook that will run some Python. It's a handler, so you can hook in some code to run before closing for, I don't know, maybe you want to make sure you're working in a production and you want to make sure that before quitting Blender for real, that you run some checks, as in like, hey, you didn't save this or comment this or publish. Like, you can imagine some aspects where you want to make sure you run some code before quitting Blender for real. And this is how it's called exit pre. That's it. More quality of life improvement, because I think there was a way to do it before using Python's internal hook, but that code would run when some Blender data is already invalid. So this is more safe. Okay, what else? RNA refactors, Banjo refactors, Compositor, nodes, OpenEXR. Let's check S for Sculpt mode. So Sculpt mode, just a few small changes. Not actually, there's a new brush type for blurring. So this one is okay, not so small, not so small. It's actually very convenient. And it's also an addition by the community. Kunal Kashyap added a new blur brush to Sculpt mode. So, and even a video, so nice. Thank you, Kunesh. Let's see. So you can paint and use the new blur, which is already from in other modes available, but now here in Sculpt mode, we can blur. So nice. Yes, this is for Blender 5.1. So nice. So many contributions to the Blender source code is by community members lately. So nice. I hope this acknowledging it, and it's probably their first two, no? Ah, so nice. Low work done on it, and thanks for guiding me. So nice. Don't you love it when people are, I mean, they're cool enough to give out their time to improve Blender, but also be nice. And in a way, you're also learning, right? When you submit your code here and you get it by developers with many more years of experience sometimes than the people making the PR. So it's a learning process. And you get to contribute to a big open source project. So thank you, Kunal. Next, ability to temporarily toggle the mask brush. Nice. Also another contribution by the community. And yeah, Satyam. Nice. This adds support for temporarily toggling the mask brush in Sculpt mode by holding Alt prior to starting the stroke. Nice. So before starting the stroke, you just hold Alt and it's gonna invert the mask brush, gonna toggle it. So cool, nice. So thank you, and also thanks Sean for reviewing this. It's also takes time to review other people's work. This is a UI update for the stabilize normal and center tooltips. So now stabilize normal has a bit more explanation on how it works, and stabilize plane is now called stabilize center and has also a better tooltip. Nice, thank you, Sean. Let's go to shader nodes. Only one feature, but a big one. The join bundle node is now supported by shader nodes. This adds the join bundle node to shader nodes. It works in the same way as in geometry nodes. So when there are name collisions, the first occurrence is used. Awesome. Amazing. Blender working well with Blender. Thank you, Jack. More tests and ta-tan-tan. All right. This one, you know, sometimes you have features for geometry node, for this, for sculpting, for painting, for modeling. But, well, this one affects everyone. Please behold in the UI, UNI, user interface changes, this feature that I've been waiting for so long, which is... I'm going to show you in Blender directly. I'm not going to show you. I'm going to just go to Blender, you open Blender, and then you go to Preferences. Have you noticed anything strange here? Have you noticed anything strange? Only the sharp minds will see it. Top left. Search. Search. Ladies and gentlemen, you can now search. The 21st century is here. You can now search in Preferences in Blender. This is this is awesome. Okay, let's use it. Let's use it. I just tested it and there are a few glitches, but it's fine. I'm glad I didn't review this because I would have found the glitches, I would have reported them, and then they would take blah blah blah, and maybe, you know, I'm glad that this made it in, even though it has a few glitches. Okay, let's see. So let's say yours. What do you want to search for? You want to search. Oh, there is an experimental features like what? Shader preview. So okay, preview. Type preview. Oh, nice. Preview resolution. Theme. There is also in the theme something about previews. Nice. Save and load previews. File preview type. Or experimental. The shader node previews. Awesome. Cool. Nice. What else? I don't know. The pie menus. Okay, where is it? Pie. Nice. So you see all the pie options, the key map options. So one thing to keep in mind is that there are many searches already in this editor, right? You can search for key map stuff and you can search for extensions. Because of that, the extensions section here, while you're here, this is disabled because otherwise too much. And the same for the key map, right? If you're searching for a key map, you don't want to mess up the other key map. So this is for settings. Although, as you could see, you can search for things that are here. For example, if you search for orbit, you get a bunch of orbit options in the end of panel, in the navigation, and in the key map, like in this one, orbit here. So you have a few options to look for. How you can tell the results are in the panels that is blue, right? It has a blue header, and also everything else is grayed out except the items that you are probably looking for. All right, all right. Where are the glitches? The glitches are, and this one is a one-liner. I know how to fix it already. Is that this here is it now is active, right? And in Blender you have this concept that when something cannot be, like when it's grayed out, you can make it active or disabled. Active or inactive allows you to toggle it even though it's disabled, like it's not being used, right? It's grayed out. Disabled makes it so the item cannot be clicked on. And I think that is the mistake here, because I search for orbit and then I go to, I don't know, all these sections, right? You can still go. I go to extensions, and then because this section makes this unclickable, now I cannot get out. I cannot clear the search, and I should be able to clear the search from here. So I think I would make it active, not disabled. To me, that's a little glitch. Otherwise, you cannot go out of it. And now you can in every other section. Why cannot do it from here? You know? And also, that's it. It's a small thing, I know, it's a glitch. And I also notice that sometimes a section would be, you see? I don't know what I did. I think I made, oh, yeah, there is a thing with undo. I switched to interface. I edit something else, orbit, for example, and then it will go to extensions. So yeah, you see, I changed to something else, and then the extension section for some reason gets highlighted. That's a small glitch. I bet Harley is watching this at some point and finding and cringing because I'm trying this live. Sorry, by the way, sorry, but I'm just testing this live. But I'm so happy that it made it in Blender. We're just gonna iron the wrinkles here and there. Anyway, another issue was, for example, here I search for orbit, and in some cases I noticed that there's a few options, like if I search for toggle. Oh, now you see I cannot edit it. Wait, toggle. It keeps going to extension for some reason. Anyway, okay, now it's a bit weird. Now it allows me to go to extension. There's a few glitches. The glitch I had before when I was testing it, I would search for the word toggle, and for some reason this would there you go. If you have developer extras off, the experimental tab for some reason will be highlighted. I don't know why. And if I had it on, it works fine. So there seems to be some glitches there. So anyway, I should have made a bug report for this, but maybe it helps you. You get a glimpse of a Blender developer / technical artist trying to give some feedback to developers trying to test a feature. You know, just try different things, click around, disable some settings to see if this breaks it. Anyway, this is amazing. So cool. That's it. Just take a time to be happy that we have search in here. So you know what is missing search? I think the only last part is missing search. We have search everywhere. We have in the animation editors, right? We have animation editors, we have in properties, we have in outliner. In the node editor, did you know that you can actually search for nodes? Like Control F, you can search and it will find it. Or you can search for the same type even. You can select items of the same type or not. Anyway, you know what is missing? The only side that is missing is the sidebar. This one. Once we have it here, done. Blender is done. Blender is finished. Because especially this area that add-ons use and abuse a lot would be very welcome to have some search. Anyway, let's move on, because otherwise I'll never end. More quality of life improvements. Let's see. The next one, oh, awesome. Also from the community. The color picker supports hexadecimal colors, right? Those FF, 00, FF. Well, turns out that there were a few, like when you didn't input exactly 6 items, 6 values, like FF, 00, FF, it wouldn't autocomplete. And this amazing developer, KH4F, went ahead and refactored it so you can be lazy and add these default behaviors when using less than 1 input. So if you just input 1, before it will always output 0. Now it actually fills up all the numbers with 1 and even makes it full opaque. When you do 2, it will repeat it to 12, 12, 12, for example, and fully opaque. If you do 3, it used to be work as expected and fill in 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, but the alpha color was wrong. Like, was setting transparency to be fully transparent. You don't want that. And I think the alpha is unchanged in this case. Next. So it will change it to 0. Now it changes to fully unchanged. And the same with 4 digits and 5 digits and 6. So look at this, also beautifully done PR with images, with examples, with videos, video captures, with the before and after. So nice. Respect the guy that wrote the whole documentation. Yes, guy or girl. Actually, I think it's not a guy or a girl, it's a bird. So nice to see him contributing. Let's see. I hope there's more. Now I want to see more public activity. Stalk the user to see if there is more work coming their way 2 weeks ago. Okay, no, not yet. Let's see. Nice. Good verb. Speaking of the color picker, this developer also improved the tooltips. Actually, this one was also quality of life improvement. And the previous one was also quality of life. This one makes it so, well, actually fixes the tooltips were all wrong in the color picker. It used to say color value for the hue and for the saturation, and now it actually says hue, value, saturation. Small little thing, but helps a lot. Thank you. More renaming. This is based on a bug report. Somebody reported a bug, which is, it wasn't really a bug, but it was not behaving as expected because the frame selected operator was doing something else. So it was centering the view when the user wouldn't expect it. So now it has been renamed, just a one-liner literally. Even the Python, not the operator, is called center last stroke instead of frame last stroke. Next, copy paste. Oh yes, in the tree view, so this UI list that is used in some places in Blender, copy paste will copy the whatever is under the mouse, which is usually how Blender works, right? You don't have to select things. You're probably aware, if you're a Blender advanced user, that you don't even need to, like if you want to copy the value here, like 1220, you don't have to click and copy. You can just hover and copy the values and paste even without actually having to click and paste. You can just mouse over and paste. That now is the case also for the tree views item. Next, add socket icon. Oh, nice, more sockets. Yes, another quality of life improvement. You see why I call it quality of life improvement? Quackaruni added a small change, but you know how the A or B passes in Blender are usually either value or color sockets? Well, they didn't reflect that before. Like this is how they looked before. No icon, except when the data couldn't be found. But now Blender should show you an icon. So yes, you have the value here. It says color and value, but you know, colors are, people are used to colors. So nice little addition, quality of life. Thank you, Quackaroni. Oh, another convenience button by yours truly. When updating, this is also inspired by right-click select. So this one I think was a request by Lauluk, and he requested a update all button, which is available in Blender. It's in the drop-down menu, right? But now it actually shows you a bit more information. It also shows you the version that you're updating from and to. So Blender will now show you an update all, which will run update on all the items. And it also shows you this bit of information, which is the current version and the one you're gonna update to. Because talking with other users and here developers is like, it can be too risky if you can update all the versions of all your add-ons or themes without knowing which version you're updating to. right? Like 1.2 to 1.3, that's a big change, right? It could, maybe I should check and not update all and just be, you know, careful and update. Maybe this should show the number here, update all, and then brackets, parentheses, how many updates. Maybe that would be a good addition. What do you think? In this case, we'll just say 1, which is a bit meh. But if you have 20 and you don't see them, maybe that could be. Is there also a history of updates? No, unfortunately, no. How would it well work? But anyway, this is the addition. Small, tiny quality of life. I hope you like it. Next. Well, this is a quality of life for developers. macOS will now use SVG cursors internally, which as a user, it doesn't really affect you. It just looks slightly different, but internally, it means that developers can now, or artist designers, can now make one icon, and it can be used on Linux, macOS, and Windows. Before, you will have to design it multiple times. It was so silly, but not anymore. Now, thanks to this change by Harley. Next, another change by Harley, resize aligned regions. This one, you may have run into this. Have you ever had the sidebar at the size, for example, and then you make the window smaller and the whole sidebar disappears? You had that? I did multiple times. Well, now Blender will try to be smart and resize it so if you have it this large and then you resize the editor, Blender would, instead of doing this, that is hiding the whole thing and then you don't know what happens, Blender will now do this, which let me know if it's what you expected. Resize, and then plonk. That's it. Isn't that great? Anyway, did you notice the difference too, right? Like once, before Blender would just hide it, and it would hide everything. So both the content and the tabs. But now Blender would only, first, it will try to resize it as much as possible. And then when there is no more room, boom, it doesn't hide the whole thing. It just only hides the content tab and it leaves the tabs there, which I think is maybe up to whatever taste, but I think it's nice. I like it. So quality of life improvement. Another quality of life. Have you ever had Blender, or have you ever overwritten a file by mistake, right? You save a file with a name, and then Blender would just show you this field red when it matches, and also, but it will still be a blue save as button. So now it's red and it says overwrite. It still doesn't prompt you like, are you really sure you want to? Do you think that's needed? Now that the button is red, although if you press enter, it would still happen. But do you think you still need? Do you want Blender to? You're saving, and then are you sure you want to save or not? Should it or not? Anyway, let's see. Next. Hide data blocks. Oh, this is something that is a user preference, but now it's on by default. It will data blocks that have their name start with a dot will be hidden by default. This is a pull request. It's a change that happened. I thought we changed this long time ago, but apparently not. The data block starting with a name will be hidden, which is similar to other operating systems. On Linux, on Mac, Windows, I don't think they have this behavior, but if your files start with dot, they will be hidden by default. You can unhide it really quickly, but they will be hidden by default. Next. Yeah, somebody's honking outside. I think it's they're telling me to hurry up and go. But I just told them that there's so many more features. This is developers' fault. So they have way too many features. It's not me yapping for 2 hours about what's new in Blender. Hey, Look, Alberto Piloto, I see you in the chat. Thank you for this this PR here. Alberto, I don't know if you're the same or just happens to have the same name and last name, but Alberto Piloto made it so the mass property, the mass unit is now available in nodes. So you can have things such as, so you can enable the subtype mass, and that will show things as kilograms or whatever they use in America. So mass is another option, similar to wavelength, color, frequency, time, and factors percentage. Super, super nice. And this is all over the place. And I think this is another of one of those PRs that it's a small thing, right? You just expose the subtype. However, looking at the actual PR, there it also happens to have some renaming. So every property that was using mass, it got renamed from prop unit mass to prop mass to be in line with all the other things. So this is something that starts as a, hey, small change. Hey, what if it's a refactor too? But it's good for consistency. And you get used to, you know, the flow of updating a PR, making a change, going through the review, giving feedback, compiling, and so on. Next, hope to see more of these changes. Persistent collapse, expand state. Oh, another quality of life improvement. Okay, this one, let me just show you. You know, the panels that have sub panels. So for example, let's see, paint. There you go. So you see, this is a popover, right? And it has sub panels here. So these sub panels now will remember when they were open or closed. So if you go out and in again, hey, it remembers. So it's a mix of bug fix and quality of life improvement. So nice. Before it would just always be closed. So now it will remember. So nice. Blender has memory now. Let's see. This is thanks to Guillermo Venegas. Thank you, Guillermo. Wow. Okay. More quality of life by Guillermo. These two other changes are something that bothered me. I thought it wasn't possible to be fixed, but they were possible to be fixed. Have you ever noticed that sometimes Blender will draw part of your menus? Like for some reason, I mean, maybe I don't know exactly why, but sometimes it would happen that if you were scrolling halfway, like halfway, this is a widget, right? The sphere, the preview. And if you just scroll halfway, Blender will just cut the whole thing out, like the whole block. You have that often, you will see that often with the color picker. You have the color wheel, scroll half a pixel, and then the whole wheel disappears. Not anymore. That has been fixed by Guillermo. And now when you scroll, you will see you will see part of the, what do you expect basically? There's nothing really new here. Maybe we can get the gradient here in the same way that we have it in everywhere else in the headers. Maybe that would be a nice small addition, just to tell that there is more content ahead or not. But yeah, small thing that is such a welcome addition. This is long standing. This is also one of those things that are from Blender 1, well, Blender maybe 2.5. And the other one, it has to do with scrolling in menus. Have you ever noticed that when you were scrolling in some menus, Blender would, instead of actually scrolling the view as you scroll, it would actually move the cursor to the last item or to the first one and then just change that. So you wouldn't scroll the whole thing, you would just move to the first item. The problem is, if your mouse is here and Blender will move to the top one and move, then the moment you move the mouse, the item under the mouse will be selected. So it was so glitchy, and that has been fixed now. It's did I make a video of this? No, I mentioned it, but it's just well, you will see. This is how it used to be. You're probably used to. You see, you scroll, and the item, it looks so glitchy. I know there will be 5 people online that actually use this on purpose, because if you're using the keyboard, maybe you can still do that, but maybe they would use it like scroll with the mouse and then press enter, like in a way that you wouldn't move the mouse. But it's just wrong. So now is right. This is how it looks at now. So you scroll and the whole thing scroll where whatever is under the mouse is always focused. Nice. These 2 things alone, it's a huge quality of life improvements for the UI. Some items in the UI list were not were not sorted alphabetically actually. For example, here, the list of view layers was not sorted alphabetically, and now it is. Another quality of life improvement you maybe didn't notice before, but it always bothered me. That's it. You see why I called it this way, quality of life, because there are many, many. And let's talk about USD. 2 changes. 1, the glass setups are now handled much better. Apparently, USD preview surface has odd semantics related to opacity, so sometimes things with alpha wouldn't work well. Now they should. So, and like all other material network support, processing here is limited to the usage of the principal BSDF. Glass BSDF is not supported. And the other change is performance related, actually. Peak memory usage should be down by 7%, around 7%. Super nice addition. Thanks, Jesse. USD. And last but not least, video sequence editor got a bunch of changes by 2 great people. First, well, it seems that Jack Luke, the developer that brings us so many geometry nodes mostly, but nodes all over the place. He's a genius. And I like it when you can really tell that he's been either using Blender for something else, or like in this case, he's been editing things in Blender in a way and noticing things that don't work well and then fixing them, or just motivating other developers to fix it. Like image building, when building proxies, for example, Blender would give you some feedback about the proxy that is being currently built. So this is what happens. So you drag and drop a sequence, and on the status bar you will see building one thing and then building the other, even though it was probably done already, like building the proxy, but it would accumulate all of the items one by one. Not very nice, until Jack started using the feature and said, you know what, I'm gonna fix it myself. Now the proxy, it's the progress is for all the proxies, not just the one at a time. So cool. Next, well, related to that, avoid running out of memory when adding many movie strips. Awesome, thank you, Jack. In the case I noticed, all the movie readers took up 20 gigs. Wow. Anyway, avoid running out of memory. And this seems to have inspired others to go ahead and just basically refactor, remake, simplify, speed up, and fix image proxies. So VSE movie proxies were doing a simple thing already, which is to read the input file, scale it down if needed, and then just write out the proxy images. However, image proxies were going through almost the full VSE frame render pipeline only to get, wow, only to get effectively the input image at the end. So very inefficient. This has been fixed several times faster. It fixes the lack of thread safety when you could run into a crash if Blender is trying to do multiple things at a time. It's being cleaned up. The progress when multiple images is now reported correctly, and there's no crash when rendering stereo mode. So nice. And the last but not least, reduce the memory consumption when building proxies for many videos. This is not great when you see a developer actually using a feature and then motivating others to do so. Anyway, that's all for today. Actually, there is not much more. This work on Vulkan and XR, but that is all for this week. Let's see. Are there any questions? I will go to BlenderToday, Blender Community. So community.blender.org. No, blender.community. I invented a new website there. Okay, let's see. This is Blender Today. Many quality of life improvements. And let's see. So how many? 4 comments. Cool. I can do it faster before you add more. Hey, Pablo, says Sadek. Instead of a question, I have a suggestion for the Summer of Code project. An issue that has been bothering for more than a decade. Copying the image from the image editor to clipboard. This hasn't been in there for a decade. Speaking as a concept artist is sorely missed. Huh? Ideally, we would get paste into Blender as well for texturing, but copy the image from the image editor to the clipboard is sorely missed. Hey, did you know there is image copy, image paste? Or am I missing something? But yeah, in Blender you can copy and paste. Not everywhere. It works on Windows, on Mac, on Linux Wayland, but not on Windows Linux X11. So most platforms supported, but Linux X11 is the one missing, and the recommendation is to switch to Wayland. But it should be there, unless I miss something. Paste into Blender as well for texturing. Yeah, you can paste it. You can paste it in Blender and then just use it as a texture. It's an image data block. Next. Hi Pablo, how are you? One of the things would be my dream would be to switch from Photoshop to Blender. That's a bit much to ask, but yes. I always thought the node base of the Compositor to have more potential and versatility than the layer base in Photoshop. For that, I think all we need, I think you need more than that, especially with all the AI stuff that Photoshop does nowadays, is a proper 2D canvas where you can paste, copy images, and move stuff around with ease without needing to resort to the transform node. And positioning things into the camera and stuff. Maybe we could select each image on painting this canvas for transformation by selecting its equivalent nodes. I know it's probably not something that is planned right now, but do you think it's a relative development? We need a proper 2D canvas. Okay, we have that, kind of, right? We have a 2D canvas here. We have tools. Well, we don't have tools. We have a tool system, but we don't have tools. So that is something that maybe we can, that can be worked on. So, right, we can fill, we can clone, we can mask. There is no concept of pasting an element and having the element there. Like pasting an image and then being able to transform. There's no transform tools. That would be amazing to have. I think this is what you mean, right? By the transform node. That you can do without the node itself. Because you can do in the, like if you have a mask, mask, Bosk mask. So if you have a mask, you do have gizmos where you can, the active node can work as a gizmo. So in this case, and here too, right? Should be able to transform it. But yeah, and then you mix it. I don't have the backdrop. There you go. This is what you say we should have. Similar for images pasted in here. Let's see. I think that's what you mean. But I think it's a long way, but it's in the works to improve image editing in Blender. Hola Pablo, I hope you're feeling better. I'm very sick. I wanna blow my nose so bad, but I know it's in live stream. I shouldn't be doing it. Maybe I can mute myself and do it. I'm almost done. Several questions this week. Okay, number one. Previously, at the start of the year, a blog post for expected projects appears at code.blender.org. Is there one in development for 2026? Well, let's see. It's not there. But yes, tomorrow, either tonight or no, Thursday. I would say Thursday is a good moment. Thursday, Friday, this week for sure, because I already seen it reviewed. Someone else was giving feedback, but it's almost done. Do you have any updates on the hair solver no development? Yes, actually, it is part of the work being done. And Lucas Tony is that one developer is working here full time on that. Been stuck in the weekly reports, but looks like all the usual devs working on are on other projects currently. No, if you see dev talk, I mean, it's all part. Well, we're also in the code, the quality project, quality month, where it's all about improving Blender code quality. That's why there are so many refactors and everything, right? But if we look at the weekly updates, the last one, 26th of June, this one, 19, you can see what everyone's working on. And the developer Lucas Tona, who is very popular here, 13 items, 13 clicks on it, has been working on some quality of life not quality of life, code quality changes for the node groups, but also related to hair stuff. And I've seen some demos already. By 4 here, so if you say hair, is it using a different name? This rigid. Okay, maybe since the beginning of the year it's a quality project, but it's being worked on, it's not forgotten. I noticed Lucas Togner isn't included on the weekly reports anymore. No, he was working on some things. Is he still working for BF? I hope so. I think it's not full time, but I hope so. I'm not sure, and this is maybe a bit personal. I don't know exactly at the moment, but he's not via Blender Foundation. Yeah. Okay. It was until December. Maybe something changed, but he's a great contributor and he knows cycles better than many people. So I hope he is back. Maybe there is, you know, I don't have an answer, but I hope he's back. Hello, Pablo. I just noticed something yesterday, so thought it would be bringing it up here. Perhaps I should make a bug report. I was making a scene involving volume materials from stuff generating in geometry nodes, and I use light linking so that each object is affected by individual lights. It worked as expected in cycles, but in Eevee, while it worked as expected for the mesh part, the volume part seems to still affected by all the other lights. Just wondering if it's still being worked on for light linking to affect volume in Eevee. When in doubt, always report a bug, because that's how you're gonna know if maybe even other developers will know. So please report it as a bug. I don't know off the top of my head. Okay, 2 more comments in this meantime. Hi Pablo, praying you all add my right click feature request. And the emoji of sick. Yes, that's me right now. This will be me the moment I stop the live stream. This will be me exactly. And the last one doesn't even say hi, Jack of Art. It's possible to get this trees to quad add-on native to Blender as more advanced mode to current algae algorithm. So much more better than the current method. Well, is it open source? It's 33 stars. Is it an add-on? Yes. But why is it not on the extension platform? Oh, there is a manifest. So it is optimize. It's an extension. So first step is get people to add it to, is it optimized? No. Optimized, everything is optimized, but trees to quads, no. Let get people to submit their extensions to the extension platform, so it's easier to test, to try, and to check if maybe they're using a library that is not compatible with Blender, but it's much easier if it goes through the filter of the extension platform first. All right, that's it. Oh, I almost forget something that was released today. Blender 4.5 and 4.2 LTS. Yes, 4.5.6 LTS, sorry for burning your eyes, also burning mine, has been released. So many, I don't know how many, but many bug reports has been fixed. Texture paint is not showing selected, but it shows everything. Anyways, 4.5 LTS released, and 4.2 LTS 0.17 has been released. I almost forget because we haven't announced it actually anywhere yet. It's not on social media, not on Twitter, not anywhere. Yours first. But maybe it's too early, and maybe that wasn't announced. That's why it wasn't announced yet. So if you happen to click on download and it doesn't start or it's too slow, click on here where it says download manually, and I should change that wording maybe and just say other mirrors, because you can choose other mirrors, in this case Germany or another one from the Netherlands. So that way you get a different place where to get it. Anyways, that's it. That is all. New Blender, 2 new Blenders, lots of quality of life improvements, and Q&A. What an episode we had today. Thanks for hanging out with me here. What does LTS mean? LTS stands for long-term support, which means that the Blender you get, like in this case, it was released in July 2025, it will get bug fixes for 2 years, 2027. So it's like any other Blender release, but instead of getting only 3-4 months of bug fixes, you get 2 years, which is really good if you're working on a studio or just like stability. There is a new LTS every year. So for people who think that Blender updates too quickly and they don't like to update all the time, you can do it once a year and stick to the LTS releases. The next LTS is 5.2 LTS coming out in July, but the next Blender release is 5.1 in March, 17th of March, if everything goes according to plan. So I hope, I'm running out of voice, I hope you had a good day. I did. I will see you again in 2 weeks time. This will be February 3rd, I think, which means one day before the release. The beta version of 5.1 and alpha of 5.2. Thanks for staying until the end. I will see you again the next episode for more Blender Today. Same place, same time, for another episode of Blender Today live. Watch your ear holes. Yes, I want my ear holes filled with the sweet music. Anyway, bye. Thanks for being here. Ciao.